Welcome to Maker.io, the Gentleman Shorts, and in this episode we will learn how to configure the Raspberry Pi to boot into command line mode and also use Secure Shell. Raspbian is a great operating system for the Pi, giving us a GUI interface and all the programs that we would normally want to use. On top of that, if the Pi is in some remote location and access is incredibly difficult, being able to access the Pi over a network would be hugely advantageous, where program updates could be easily transferred. So the question is, how do you go about doing this? Well, for this part of the video, we're going to go over to the monitor and have a look. So the first thing we need to do is open the Raspberry config, which you can do by going to your terminal window, and then typing in sudo sudo, and then Raspberry config with the hyphen in the middle, so it's just RASPI hyphen config. And that brings up our little menu option. So let's zoom in onto that. So at this point, we're going to configure the Raspberry Pi to boot onto the command line. So to do that, we go to option number 3 and hit enter. And then we're going to select the first item, which is choose whether to boot into a desktop or command line. And then we're going, in this case, we're going to select console auto login. It's the more convenient one because it bypasses the login stage. It can be quite irritating. So we're going to go and select that. And at this point, we go to finish and we'll go yes. We'd like to reboot now. And that's it, we're booted in. So the next task that we want to do is we want to enable SSH, which stands for Secure Shell. And this is very useful because we can actually log into the Raspberry Pi over the network. So the first thing we need to do is go back into that Raspberry config as you saw before. So let's quickly see that command. So sudo Raspberry config. I'm typing one hand here, so with the keyboard holding in the other hand, it's not the easiest. So in the menu that comes up, we're going to select the 5th option, which is interfacing options. We're going to go to the second option, SSH. Would you like the SSH to be enabled? And we click yes. And then it's enabled. And we hit finish. And that's it. We've enabled SSH. Even though we've got SSH enabled, we still have to find out what the IP address of the Raspberry Pi is. Otherwise, we won't know what IP address to try and connect to. So to do that, all we need to do is type in ifconfig. So once we type in ifconfig, you should see some information like this. And this will tell us what the IP address is. But remember, the Raspberry Pi 3 can connect either over a Wi-Fi connection or a wired LAN connection. Because I'm using the wireless network, I use WLAN. And according to my Raspberry Pi, the IP address of my Raspberry Pi is 192.168.174. So we need to write this number down and then transfer it to our PuTTY program so we can actually connect to the Raspberry Pi over a Wi-Fi connection. With SSH enabled on the Raspberry Pi, we can now connect to it. So to do that, in our host name, we're going to put the IP address of the Raspberry Pi. In my case, it was 192.168.1.74. We're going to leave the port as 22, and we're going to click open. This brings up with this window about the server keys not being cached, blah, blah, blah. Just click yes. And then this little window comes up. So the first thing it asks for is the login. So that'll be Pi. And then the password. Now when you type the password in, nothing's going to show up on the terminal for security reasons. So it may be a bit tricky to remember what you've typed in. So just take it slowly and enter each letter individually. So the default password for the Raspberry Pi is raspberry. So it should be just RASPBERRY. And there we are, we're logged in. And that's it. So one neat thing about this is that I can actually run Python on this. So I can go ahead and type in Python. And that brings up the Python terminal, so I can go and type in something like print hello, and there you go. And that is how we can log into the Raspberry Pi over a network and log in using the Secure Shell. We now have a Pi running Raspbian without the GUI, which saves us processing power, RAM usage, and power consumption. At the same time, we can also connect to the Pi via LAN. So this Pi could be anywhere on the property and I could still access it and apply updates and patches on the fly. Well, that's all we have time for this episode, so thank you for watching and see you next time.